Fundamental Phase 1. Reading Timetables. Purpose. Module. Purpose of the module. Teach each participant to read with interpretive railroad timetable, track chart profiles. Ability to the document is essential. Track inspection, accident investigation when identifying specific railroad site location. Module objectives at the completion of the module, participation will be able to navigate with the railroad timetable, identify with interpreted information relevant during the inspection and investigation, navigate a railroad track chart profile, identify interpretation information relevant during an inspection investigation. Timetables is a schedule within the Texas division of the date in which fall westward, length of sidings, milepost, and rule time operation eastward. And it shows the chart. Timetable speed shows the speed, maximum speed, permanent or restriction speed, siding, main track, switches and turnouts, and speed other. Timetable equivalent restriction, bridge equivalent weight restriction, maximum gross weight, subdivision, specific rules, general maintenance of work, right, general code of regulations, timetables, type of operation, main track, other track, central trafficking track, current is in effect, interlockings, timetable, trackside warning devices, track FRA expected, track none. 7 special conditions: remote control zones, automatic switch to location station, DTMF controlled automatic switch, duplicated mileposts, closed, no clearance, limited to start. Timetable specification conditions: line segment, road line segment, alignment, limits segment, and limited yard line segment, and limits of the location, information, name, milepost, capacity, and feet, switch opens, and a grade chart eastward, and practice exercise. Open the folder named Practice Exercise 1 here. You will find the Union Pacific timetable. You for the exercise. You also use the UPSSI General Code of Regulations if they help you. When you write your answer sheet, provide the individual exercise that you review the answer as a group. What is the name of the timetable, number, effective, and we'll just keep going through practice exercise 1. The answers. Alright, track charts and profiles. Track charts and profiles, individual tool through our department containing wealth of the information, track layout, curve data, track speed, turnout, location, crossing location with department transportation, overheads, underpasses, single location, bridge location, data, and grade. Track chart shows the alignment and the curvature. Track chart profiles, mass, pH, and speed. Practice exercise 1 and 2. And answers. Alright, Federal Railroad Administration Track Safety Standards, Part 213, some parts A through F. Presentation notes. Presentation is intended to provide with the guidance of broad terms, not intended for the truth of the complete explanation for the regulation, substitute for the application of the regulation of specific facts. With exemption, definition, each section show for the presentation, brief summaries for the regulation text. User must consult with the complete regulation documentation when necessary. Federal Register, Title CFR, Title 49, Part 213, Track Safety Standards, Improving Rail Integrity, Final Rule. Presentation contains amendments of the Track Safety Standards published in the Federal Register January 24, 2014. 213, Track Safety Standards, Part A, General Scope of the application expected to track with the responsible complying with the designation qualified personal supervisor, certain renewals, inspection, class of track operated speed, restoration, renewal under track safety conditions. 213.13, measuring track on our load. 213.14, application requirements to cover track new. 213.15, penalties. 213.17, waivers. 213.19, information collection. Scope of this part: describe the minimum safety requirements for the railroad track with a part of the general railroad system transportation. General requirements prescribed by the parts applied with the specified track conditions. It is in isolation, therefore, the combination of track conditions, none of which for the individual amount of the deviation of the requirements apart, but the main require medial action to provide safe operations over the track with the part does not restrict the railroad from adopting and enforcing an additional one of the more stringent requirements of non-inconsistent with its part. So part A through F, they apply with the track classes 1 through 5. Show the 213.1, show the scope of the design standards, maintenance standards, FRA standards. Application for the except for the providing paragraph B with this section part of the apply for the all standard gauge track with the general railroad system transportation. Against the application section specifically excluded with the part 213 located track located inside of the installation not part of the general railroad system operation. Additional language reading regarding plant trackage can also be found in Title 49 CFR Part 209, Appendix A, with the explain with the track owner plant any of the plant railroad track over which the general system railroad operates responsible for the condition track with the general system railroad. Part 209, Appendix A, with does not mean with the implied with the requirement of TSS include inspection frequency, record keeping to become an ample for the plant railroad once in the general system railroad enter the properly rather than the statement from the owner commanding FRA and intent that the plants should be maintained in safe condition portion of the track used by general system railroad. 213. Application of the part does not apply with located inside the installation, not part of the general railroad system of the transportation plant railroad. Use the this part plant railroad means the plant or installation owns the leases the locomotive, uses the locomotive to switch cars to the plant and installation move the goods solely for the use of the facility's own industrial process. This part does not apply with the use of exclusively with the tourist, scenic, historic, excursion operation, not part of the general railroad system transportation. Use the part tourist, scenic, historic, excursion operation, not part of the general railroad system transportation means tourist, scenic, historic, excursion operation conducted only on the track used exclusively for the purpose of no freight, intercity passenger, commuter passenger, railroad operation on the track, or this part does not apply with the track used exclusively for the rapid transit operation in an urban area that not connect with the general railroad system transportation. Accepted track. The track owner may designate segment of the track exempted track part of the 213.4a with a segment identified with the timetable, special instruction, general order, other appropriate record if they have available the inspection during regular business hours. 213.4 exempted track with the track owner may designate segment of the track expected to provide with the 213.4b with identified segment is not located 30 feet with adjacent track with the subject with the simultaneous use of speed in excess of 10 miles per hour. 213.4 expected track of the no adjacent track means the proximity of the track of the question should the track greater than 10 miles an hour cannot be 13 feet cannot be expected with 10 miles an hour 26 feet cannot be expected 13 feet may be expected with 10 miles an hour 10 miles an hour 39 26 and 39 feet 213.4 examine the track with the track owner designated with the segment of the track expect with the track with the 5 with the 213.4C with identified with the segment inspect with the cone with 213 through 33C and 213 235 at frequently specified class 1 track. Exempted track with the 213.4D with identified segment of the track is not located with the bridge include with the track with approaching with the bridge over the 100 feet either with the side with the located with the public street with the highway to railroad cars containing commodities required by the placard with the hazard material regulation Title 49 CFR 172 to move it over the track and 100 feet on the either side of the bridge or over the public crossing cannot be suspected. 213.4 with expected travel. The 213.4E with the railroad conducted the operation identified with the segment of the following condition. No train with the operated speed within except for the 10 miles per hour. No occupied with a passenger train should be operated. No freight train should be operated with containing more than 5 cars required with the placard hazard material regulation. Title 49 CFR 172 with the gauge of the expected for the track should not be more than 4 foot 10 and a quarter inches or 58 and a quarter 8 inches. The 213.4 on F. A track owner should be advised by the operator with the FRA regional office with at least 10 days prior to the removal of the segment of the track expected status. 213.4 expected track, accepted track. Is for the train with the term of the train with the defined with the Title 49 CFR 213.2A32 a locomotive more than one locomotive coupled without cars if the definition rule applies to this rule. 213.4 expected track with the conditions applied with all the expected the track identified with the running right within 30 feet of the track of the operated with the greater than 10 miles per hour inspected with the class 1 frequency not on a bridge of them plus 100 feet, not on public crossings, speed not more than greater than 10 miles an hour, not occupied passenger car greater than or equal to 5 hazmat cars, no more than 4 foot, 10 and a quarter inch gauge, 10 days notice to remove. 213 responsibility for compliance. 213.5 the responsibility for compliance is provided by B. The owner knows that the evidence for the track does not comply shall bring with the track in compliance all with the operation over the track operated by the owner authority with the person designated in part 213.7a with the subject conditions set forth in this part. If the owner designated with the segment of the track exempted with the 213.4 with the operation may continue with complying with the provisions subpart B with its roadbed and C geometry D structure and E applying with the unless otherwise expressly stated. 213.5 the responsibility compliance if the owner of the track assigns the responsibility of the track with another with a written notification must be approved with the FRA regional office at least 30 days in advance of the assignment. Notification may be to any part of the assignment include with the following: the name of the address of the track owner, the name of the address of the assigner, with the statement the exact relationship between the part of the precise identification on the track, statement of the competency of the ability of the assigner to carry out with the duty of the track owner, with this part of the statement of assignment of the assigner acknowledging the assignment and responsibility. 213.5 of the responsibility complying with the administrator may hold with the track owner with the assigner with the both responsible complying with the part of the subject penalty with the 213.15 common carrier of the railroad is directed by the Surface Transportation Board to provide the surface of the over the track with another railroad in Title 49 CFR 11125 with the consent of the owner of the track for the purpose of the application of the part of the during the period of the directed surface under the remaining in effect with when any of the person included with the contract for the railroad of the track owner performs any of the function required by this part of the person required to perform the function in accordance with this part. 213 7 the designation qualified person that should provide with a certain renewal of the inspection of the track owner shall designate with a qualified person to provide with the restoration renewal of the under the track condition. Each of the person designated must have at least 1 year of supervisor experience with the track maintenance, or 2 with a combination with the supervisor experience with the track maintenance training with the from a college program. 2 demonstrate with the owner with the know of the understanding of the requirements of that apply with the restoration renewal of the track which she is responsible can take the deviation of those requirements. 3 can prescribe the appropriate remedial action with the correct with the safety of the compensate with the deviation. 3 written authorization track owner with the prescribed remedial action with the correct safety compensation. Compensate for deviations. 213 designation qualified person supervised with a certain renewal of the inspection. B owner shall designate with a qualified person inspect with the track for the defects. Each person designated must have at least 1 year experience with the required railroad track inspection combination. Supervisor experience with the track maintenance training for the college program. Demonstrate with the owner with the nose the understanding of the requirements of the part. Applies inspection with the track when he or she is responsible to deviate the deviation of those required. 3 with the described when prescribed the appropriate remedial action to correct with the safely compensate with the deviation written authorization owner prescribed with the remedial action compensate with the deviation pending review of a person under Part A. 213 7 A with the designated qualified person to supervise certain renewal of the inspection. 213 7 C with the individuals designated with the paragraph A and B with the section inspection continuous welded rail track with the supervised with the installation and adjustment with the maintenance of the continuous welded rail track in accordance with written procedure for the track owner shall have with the current qualification under E to paragraph A and B with the section successfully complete with the comprehensive training with the course specifically to the application written with the continuous welded rail procedures issued by the track owner. Continue 213 7 C with the continue to demonstrate with the track owner with the individual know understanding the requirements of the written with the continuous welded rail with the C with the detect with the deviation of those requirements that prescribe with the appropriate remedial action the corrective safe with the compensate with the deviation written authorization for the track owner with the prescribed with the remedial action to safely compensate with the deviation requirements of those procedures successfully complete with the record with the examination of the procedures part of the qualification process. 213 7 D with the personal does not qualify for the supervised with the contained with the renewal inspection track with the paragraphs A through C with the section but at least 1 year with the main of the way with the signal experience with the may pass with the train over broken rails when pulled parts or power provided that the track owner with the person with the qualified with the power with the doing so with the training with the experiences examine the re-examine the person periodically 2 years each of the re-examination following with the topics with the relate the safe passage of the train over the broken rail parts of the pulled part of the rail defective identification cross tie condition of the track surface alignment with the gauge resistant rail end mismatched joint bar to make the maximum distance between the rail ends over the train may be allowed to pass. Sole purpose examination certain within the person's ability to effectively apply with the requirements of the examination may not be even disqualify the person on the due with the minimum of the 4 hours training with the required initial training. 213 7 D with the continuing person not qualified to supervise certain renewal with inspection of the track with the required with the paragraph A to receive with the section with the least of the 1 year with the maintenance of the way with the signal experience with the may path of the track. Pass trains over the broken rail with the poles apart with the provided of the person deeming the shape of the train speed with limited with the maximum with 10 miles an hour over the broken rail and pull part with the person shall watch all movements over the broken rail with the pull part being prepared with the shop of the train with the necessary person fully qualified in 213 7 is notified with the dispatch location promptly with the purpose of authorizing movement, effective training, repair, permanent repairs. E. With the respective destination paragraph A through D with the section each track owner shall maintain with the written records each designated to design and effect the basis for each of the designations. 3. The track inspection designated with a qualified person required by the 213-241 with the required shall be available the inspection copy with the Federal Railroad Administration during regular business hours and shows name 213-7A, B, C, and D. With respect to the designation, paragraph A through D of the section, each track owner written record of each designation of the base for each designation track inspection made with the designated qualified person required on the 213 forward 241 required shall be available the inspection copy of the Federal Railroad Administration regulating regular business hours. 213.9 class of the track operating speed limit except for the provided paragraph B with the 213.57 the B with the unbalanced 213.59A with the elevation runoff curve with the 213.113A with the rail defects 213.137 the B and Z for all with the following maximal operating speeds apply track class acceptance 1 maximum speed miles an hour freight and passengers. So track 1 10 miles an hour 15 miles an hour passengers 2 25 to 30 miles an hour 3 40 and 60 track 4 60 and 80 track 5 80 and 90. Class of track operating speed voltage 213.9A mean the maximum allowable operating speed with each for the curve determine the following formula. V max is equal to E subscript to A with A plus E subscript U over 7 10,000ths D and square root of that. Elevation runoff of the curve of the elevator with the full elevation must provide through with the curve unless physical conditions not permitted. The rail defect of the rail table of 213.113A, 213.137 the B and C frogs trade 10 miles an hour. Defects identified by the have special remediation actions prescribed. You cannot exercise 2139B. 2139 class for the operating speed with the B with the segment of the track does not meet with the requirements of the intended class for the reclass value. The new lowest class track for what it does meet with the requirements of the power of the help of the segment of the track does not leave with the minimum. Meet the requirements of Class 1 track for the operation may continue with the Class 1 speed with a period with no more than 30 days without the beginning of the track and compliance under the authority of the person designated under paragraph 213.7A with at least 1 year of the supervisor experience with the railroad track maintenance effect with the person determines the operation newly safe for the continuing with the subject to any limiting conditions specified by that such person. 213.9 class of the track operating speed limit. This is my brain. You have to use your own. If the ties look like this, this is my brain. You have to use it. After claiming to do 213.9B with a 30-day, with except for the railroad still has cars on the track. No, what? Railroad locks out the track out with the cars. If you come back with a month or later, you notice the track is still locked out, but there are different cars on the track. So now what? The next picture, railroad is operating at 15 miles an hour. With what class of the track is it? The passenger car speed with the B2. 213.111 and restoration renewal of the track under traffic condition with during the period restriction renewal of the track is under the track condition but does not meet over the equipment prescribed by the pro the work with the track with must be under the continuous supervision person designated in paragraph 213.7A with at least 1 year with the supervisor experience with the railroad tracks maintenance of the subject with any of the limiting condition of the specified in such person can have the term continuous supervision even the section meaning of the physical presence of the person in the job site have the sense of the work of the may be performed over a large area with the necessary with each of the phase work term and under the physical supervision over that person. Restoration renewal of the track under track conditions. 213 some of the qualified welders working on this. How fast is he allowed the train to pass? When underloading, measure to determine compliance with the requirements of the part with the bound rail movement. If any of the curve of the track must be added with the measurement of the unloaded track of the movement of 1/2 inch, 5/8 of an inch below the top of the rail, static gauge of 4 foot 9 inch or 57 inches, dynamic gauge of 40 foot 9 inch and 50.5 or 57.5 inch. Measuring track under load, vertical load, and on lateral load. Show the measuring track under load. Penalties, unless otherwise provided with this requirement specified by the curve track applied with the track curving greater than 0.25. Penalties and improvements violated with the requirements of the program cause violation and the requirement of the penalty of at least $650 and not more than $25 per violation, except for the penalties assigned again with the individual lawful violation, gross negligent violation, a pattern of repeated violation have degree with the imminent hazard for the death of the injury of the person called for the death of the injury, a penalty with not exceeding $105,000 per violation may be assessed continued. Person means that any of the type of the required within under 1 U.S. standard code include but not limited to the following railroad passenger, supervisor, official with the employee with the agent of the railroad owner manufacturer, leaser, or lessor of the railroad equipment, track with the track facilities, independent contractor providing goods, service to the railroad with employee with the trust for the manufacturer, leaser, or lessor of the independent contractor may any with the one held by the FRA to be responsible for the title 213.5 and 213.303C for each of any of the violations contained in the shall constitute separate offense. Appendix B with part of the statement of the agency civil penalty. 213.15 penalties. Any person who knowingly and willfully falsifies record of the report required of the part subject to the criminal penalties under Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 21311. Waivers. Any owner track with the part with applied with the other person's summary of the part may position the federal administrator's waiver all of the requirements prescribed within this part of the limit filing such of the position does not affect the person responsible for complying with the requirements of all of the positions to be considered the flange bearing frogs one part with more than 5 hazard map cars expected on track no stop high speed rail testing radios from train approach TAWS waivers for the twice a week inspector master in line heavy point class 5 with class 4 guard check measurement the remote control RMM without requirement of the enclosed cab believe that using handhold tools remove snow from the platforms use for the GRMS supplemental twice a week and the inspection of the SEPTA TGMS supplemental twice weekly inspection NJT all use the concrete without fasting and missing. 213, subpart B, roadbed scope and drainage vegetation. Scope, the part described the minimum requirements for roadbed area that immediately with adjacent to the roadbed, train cut in, train down, minimum 12-inch shoulder roller, sub ballast, ditch, subgrade, prescribed, slope is about 12 feet, rail, and tie. Each drainage, other than carrying facility with immediately adjacent to the roadbed, may be maintained with the kept free with the obstruction accommodated except for the water flow from the area adjacent area concern. Show the drainage, vegetation. Vegetation railroad property immediately adjacent must be controlled, but it does not apply with the become fire hazard track of the carrying structure. Obstruct visibility with the railroad sign and signals along with the right of way with the highway crossing and interfere with the employee with the performing track duties. For improper function, signal communication line with the prevent railroad employee visual inspection movement and equipment with the normal duty stations. Vegetation. 213 track safety standards subpart C, the track geometry, scope of the gauge, alignment of the curve to elevation, speed limitation, elevation curve track off of the truck's track surface, combined alignment and the surface deviations of the new. Alright, scope of the subpart prescribe the performance of the gauge alignment, the surface of the elevation of the rails and speed limitation curve track, and show the profile of the alignment with a 3160-foot cord gauge profile, 60-foot card, and gauge and profile alignment. Alright, gauge is measured between the head of the rail with the right angle with the rails playing 58 inch, 5/8 of an inch below the top of the rail head. Steering gauge 56.5, narrow gauge 55 and 7/8, wide gauge 58 inches, 5/8 of an inch, lateral shift inward cant and outward cant, tie plate cut. Gauge must be within limits of the following class expected: 1 for 56 inches, maximum for 58 of an inch, 2 and 3 for 56 inches, 57 and 3/4 of an inch, maximum 4 and 5 track expected, minimum 56 inches and a half, 57 and a half inches. Our gauge, derailment investigation, sometimes called the other measurement gauge. The base of the gauge is one of the gauge of 56 and a half inches of the base gauge. Show the gauge. Alignment. Except provided in paragraph D with the section alignment, it may be not deviate uniformity with the amount prescribed under the following table in class 1, tangent track and curve track. For operation qualified deficiency, E with a more than 5 inch of the alignment of the outside rail with the curve of the deviate with the uniformity more with the amount with prescribed with the following. Measuring alignment track tangent. With the place 62-foot string over the center of the line, deviation of tangent allow alignment deviation of the distance between the gauge of the line and string cord. Alignment geometry glass with the cord feet with the total number of station spacing feet with the curve length and feet and curve and tangent. Distance between the first mid-cord offset of the MCO measurement over the point of the last point with the 248 feet on the curve. Alignment, 31 and 62-foot cords. The 31-foot cord will be able to see short-wave deviation. 62-foot cord blind certain alignment of deviations. No, from classes 3 through 5 of the measurement mid-cord offset of the both of the cords to determine the deviation uniform or average alignment with the console of the table 213.55 is important due to the perturbation move of the cords and shall be calculation example shows the alignment. Alignment obtained 62-foot T with an average of 9 stations, 31 parts, average 31 feet apart. Worst spot deviation difference between measured and average. Alignment's 31, 62-foot chord station measured average deviation. Alignments plotting a spiral tangent body of the curve of the uniformity. Red is measured, dotted line in black average. Alignment plotting a spiral tangent body of the curve for uniformity list of the plot of the tangent from the tangent 0 foot to full body 3 degree with the 186 feet with its perfect curve. The alleviation will give the 0 tangent 3 core inches full body in the same as 186 feet. Alignment station MCO and elevation plotting a spiral tangent body with a curve uniformity. Alignment plotting a spiral tangent body with a curve uniformity. 213.57 the curve elevation speed limitation maximum elevation outside of the rail curve not more than 8 inches for the class 1, 2, and 2, 7 inches for the class 3 through 5. Outside rail curve that may not be lower than the inside rail by design except for the engineer with the address specified track with the operation condition listed. Limits in 213.63 and apply within all cases. Note, regardless of the elevation permitted with the table 213.63, the absolute cross level at any point with limited indicated above. Maximum allowable posted timetable operating speed each for the curve will determine the following formula. Vmax is maximum allowable posted timetable operating speed in miles per hour equal to the square root of actual of elevation outside of the rail in inches plus the qualified cant deficiency 2 inches vehicle type divided by 0.0007 d degree of curvature. Then it shows the chart. Are curves and elevation, speed limitation, central figure force, central gravity, pendulum plate, balance, elevation 0.0007 times degree times speed. Unbalanced cant deficient theoretical amount of the elevation of the data with the existing elevation of the achieved balance conditions. All vehicles considered qualified operating track with a cam with a deficiency with a E with an axis with a 3 inches table, the 1 appendix A with a power with a train speed with a compute with a corner with the formula paragraph E with a section EU equal 3 inches with the various elevation with the degree with the curvature. Each vehicle type must be either approved by the FRA to operate with a track qualified with a cant deficiency with a greater than 3 inches with each with the vehicle must with an image with a ready service load condition compliance with requirements on paragraph D1 or 2 of this section. Track owner railroad transmission produced the testing specified with the paragraph of the D with the section of the FRA administrator with the railroad safety chief safety officer requesting approval of the vehicle type of the operator with the design curve speed of the following paragraph of the D with the section request shall be made with the writing with the add the minimum of the following information. 1. Describing the vehicle type. 2. The test procedure. 3. The procedure standard in effect. F. The improvement of the request may pursue with the paragraph D with the section the FRA may impose with the condition that necessary for the safety of the operating higher curve with the speed with the upon the FRA approval the request of the track owner railroad shall notify the FRA writing no less than 30 implementation approved the higher of the curving speed allowed under the formula of the paragraph B with this section. This notification shall contain the minimum identification track segments of the higher curving speed to be implemented. Curve speed at elevation 60-foot chord 1 inch mid-chord offset with a 1 degree unbalanced speed with an inch of the speed average culture with the average elevation unbalanced average curvature max speed and the show of the points elevation mid-chord offset with a degree and the station spaced at 15.5 feet apart and the average 10 points plus a spot concerned with 11 points total divided by 11 and equals the average. Documents required in the section provided with the FRA and provided the track owner with the railroad provides for the same vehicle type of the track owner, type more track owners with the Britain with the consent with the effect of the track owner. Vehicle curved elevation speed 8. The vehicle's type of the permitted with the FRA operate with a cant deficiency with greater than 3 inches with no more than 5 inches with the qualified section with the operate with the permit with a cant deficiency for any of the track segment. Track owner railroad shall notify the FRA with the notice within 30 calendar days prior to the proposed implementation of the curving speed with the corners paragraph F of the section vehicle type permitted with the FRA operate with a cant deficiency with a greater than 5 inches with the qualified owner of the section operate with those of the permitted with the deficiency only previously operated with identified track segments. For vehicle types intended they operate with a curving speed produced with more than 5 inches with the deficiency of the provision with the subpart G with the shall apply with the 213.333A with the through N, G, J, 1, K, and M, 213.345, and 213.369F. Curves of elevation, speed, and limitations. Achieve in the vehicle, name for the locomotive defined in 229.5 of the chapter of the freight car with the defined in 215.5 of the chapter of the passenger car defined with 238.5 of the chapter any of the rolling equipment of the train with the eve of the freight with the car passenger car vehicle type name of the vehicle to build the variation of the physical properties of the suspension mass interior arrangement of the dimension of the doors do not result with a significant change of the dynamic characters. The for the curve of the elevated full elevation must provide for the up of the curve and left of the physical conditions not permitted, but the elevation run off the curves and the curve of the actual minimum elevation shall be due to the computing maximum allowable the posted timetable operating speed for the curve of under 213.57. The B of the elevation runoff must be uniform rate within limited tracks over the deviation prescribed 213.63 with the most extendable east of the full length of the spiral. The physical conditions do not permit the spiral long enough to accommodate minimum length of the runoff. The part with the runoff may be on tangent track. Or elevation track runoff over the tangent spiral with 186 degrees from 0 to 3 inch with a 4 degree curve with a 40 miles an hour spiral K with a 1 and 1/2 inch unbalanced 3 foot and 3 inch unbalanced 3 to 3 inch 1.5 inch 31 station 3 station with a 93 foot 1.5 inch per station. Highway rail grade crossing 31 stations 6 stations 186 feet 1.5 inch per station 3 inches 1.5 inch and 0 inch strip chart with a curve above. Track surface except for the provided in the paragraph G with each of the owner with the shall maintain surface track limit is prescribed in the following table. Class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 track surface in inches. For operation qualified candidate deficiency or more than 5 inch each track formation maintain surface code with the curve within the limit is prescribed in the following paragraph. Table shows runoff. Alright, the runoff of any of the 31 feet of the rail end of the raise may not be more than the track surface of the parameter. Track 1, runoff of 31 foot, 1, 3.5 inches of the 2, 3 inches of the 3, 2 inches of the 4, 1.5 inches, 5, 1 inch. Shows a raised track with 31 feet, with 2.25 inches runoff of undistributed disturbed track ramp. Track surface of the profile, track surface of the parameter deviation, the uniform profile of either rail with the emitted coordinate of the 62 chord may not be more than 1, 3 inches of the 2, 3 and 2.75 inch, 3, 2.25 inch, 4, 2 inches, 5, 1.25 inch. And this shows the measurement of the string. Measuring condition, any under load measurement. Track surface of the class 3, 3.75 profile. Cross level reverse elevation track surface of the parameter deviation 0. Cross level at any with a point tangent reverse cross elevation curve that may not be more than 1, 3 inches 2, 3 2 inches 3, 1.75 inch 4, 1.25 inch 5, 1 inch. Curve track example level the board 1/8 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, 2 inches inside out and inside and outside rail level board outside rail over inside rail 2.25 inches reverse cross level. The note the designation elevation no longer used. Track surface cross level of reverse elevation. This shows the track surface the parameter difference of warp cross level between the 2 points of the 62 feet with a pole with no more than 1 and 1 and 2, 1 3 inches 2 and 2 and 1.25 inch 3, 2 inches 4, 1.75 inch 5, 1.5 inches. Spiral deviation is the asterisk 1 is the maximum difference of the 6 inches elevation curve. 2 harmonic rock. The tangent example the 1 and 1.5 inch low joint 1.75 1/2 inch 1/2 inch 3/4 inch worth 2. Within 62 inches at opposite of the railroad measurement of the 62 feet largest opposing side figures. Track surface the cross level the difference in warp, then opposite the requirements of the 62 foot large opposing figures level the board measurement 30.25 subtract same rail measurement of the 62 foot 1.5 inch 1/8 inch 1/8 of an inch reverse elevation 5/8 of an inch worst 2 within 62 feet with this example. Cross the level difference of the warp with the warp conditions. Track surface spiral deviation, spiral variation, determination, engineering, design, propagation of the rule to do the physical restriction spiral, take a look at the past experience. Variation of warp cross level and spiral 31 inches, 31 feet may not be more than 1, class 1 track 2 inches 2, class 2 track 1.75 inch 3, 1.25 inch, class 4 1 inch, and class 5 3.25 inch. Variation warp level of the board may be measurements 31 foot only. Tangent spiral 0 inches rail equals the spot equals rail joint. reverse elevation 1/8 of an inch, 1 5/8 of an inch opposite rail end, 3/4 inch same track, rail subject spiral curve, 1 1/2 inch, 31 foot, 1 1/2 inch, 31 foot, 3/4 inch, no variation, 31 foot, warp applied with the spiral lengths limited because of the tunnel rocks cut in platforms, etc. 1. Exempt limited in 213.57 and even the elevation angle with the point where the curve exceeds 6 inches of a different cross level of 62 feet between the point where the point greater elevation may not be more than 1 1/2 inches. So 65, 6 inches level of the board measurement, the 1 5/8 of an inch of the value beyond the permissible limit, the 5 1/2, the 5 1/2, and 5 7/8 of an inch, and the dot equal the railroad joint. Tracks with no harmonics, however, the control harmonics class 2 through 5 jointed track with staggered joints, cross level of the difference should not exceed 11 and 1 1/4 inch. All 6 of the concept of the parts of the joint. Create 7 of the low joints on track should be staggered with at least 10 feet and shall not be considered to have the staggered with the joints. Several of the low joints outside of the regular joint spacing shall not be considered as joints purpose of the footnote. On any curved track where the operation conducted with a qualified cant deficiency greater than 5 inches for the combination alignment, the trip of the deviation, same chord length with the outside rail curve with the measure for the TGMS, shall comply with the following as 3/4 inch, 3/4 time the measured alignment of deviation uniformity outward side positive and inward negative over allowable alignment per 213.55b with all always positive the class of the track plus SM measured power profile deviation uniformity down positive up and negative divided by allowable profile with a 213.63b with always positive class track, and then the absolute value of that greater than or equal to 1. Or sorry, less than or equal to 1. Alright, Part 2, 13 track safety chain, track structure, scope, ballast, cross ties, gauge, resistance, measurement, defective rails, rail end, mismatch, continuous well of the rail, plan, review, and approval of continuous well of the rail joints, torch cut rails, and tie plates. Scope of the section prescribing the minimum quantity of the ballast, cross ties, assembly fittings, and physical conditions of the rail. Unless otherwise structurally supported, all tracks must be supported materially with the distributed load of the track of the railroad rolling equipment with a subgrade disc drain. Track laterally, longitudinally, vertically, and with the dynamic loads input with the railroad rolling equipment and with the thermal stress that exerted on the rail, provide adequate drainage of the track with a maintain proper track cross level of surface alignment, and then show the ballast in general, and then show the ballast in general again, and then a picture and cross tie. The cross ties should be enabled in the material which can be securely fastened each 39-foot segment shall have the sufficient number of the cross tie combination provide effectiveness and support with a holding gauge limit that prescribed in 213.53b. Maintains the limits of the prescribed in 213.63 main alignment of the limits prescribed in 213.55 of the minimum number of the type of the cross specified in the paragraph C and D of this section is effectively distributed to support with the entire segment at least for the cross tie type that specified in the paragraph C and the D section located at joint location as specified in paragraph F. And it shows cross ties and then cross ties again. Alright, 213.109 cross ties continue. Each 39-foot segment of Class 1 track shall have the 5 cross ties of the Class 2 and 3 tracks shall have the 8 cross ties. Class 5, 4, and 5 tracks shall have the 12 cross ties which are not broken through, split, otherwise impaired, extent of the cross ties allowed with the base of the work through, but do not hold the spread of the railroad fastened interior with the tie plate base of the rail can move the laterally more and more than 1 1/2 inch relative to the cross ties cover. The tie plate will move more than 40% of the tie thickness. Cross ties continue. Cross track with the class of the track 1 with a tangent track with the curves greater than less than 2 degrees 5 with the curved tracks over 2 degrees 6. Class track 2 8 less than 2 degrees over 2 degrees 9. Class 3 curves 8 less than 8 and over 2 degrees 10. 4 and 5 12 and 14. Cross ties continued. Cross ties. Gauge rods are not effective with the substitute for the proper cross tie with the rail fastening since the gauge rods cannot subject to the sudden final failure provided no vertical rail will support with the provided no resistance railroad over forces. However, the gauge rods may be installed if they have an secondary means to support with the maintaining gauge of the gauge rods due with an observer the condition of the cross tie fastening system in the immediate vicinity with incapable of maintaining adequate gauge of them. Inspector should consider this case citing a cross tie with a fastener defect. Alright, cross the concrete, cross-size county with the safety requirements set forth with the paragraph B4 with the section of the broken through with the deteriorated extent of the pre-dressing material with the deteriorated broken off with the seating with the trouble with the insert, fastener, assembly, either pull out or move the laterally more than 3 inches relative to the cross-side deteriorated stuff of the base of the heave of the rail can have more laterally more than 3 inches relative to the cross-side on the degree of 2 degrees or greater, more laterally more than 1/2 inch relative to the cross-side tangent curves less than 2 degrees. Concrete, top-size content satisfied with the requirements set forth with the paragraph B4 with the section show the deteriorated braid with the angle point with the rail C with the depth of 1/2 inch or more with the rail can't angle outward positive the top rail plane. Concrete cross-size count with the safety requirements set forth with the paragraph B4 with the section not be divisified with the interior with the cross-tie fastening anchoring system include with the rail anchor the 213-127B with unable to maintain logical restraint. Rail restraint, maintain rail, hold down, and maintain gauge due with the incision fastener with the hold low with the configure with the less than 2 fastener with the same rail with except with the paragraph 213-127C. Cross-size count is satisfied with the requirements set forth in the table to be D, paragraph D with the section shall not be broken through with the display otherwise impaired to the extent of the cross-size will allow the ballast to work through with the will not hold the display with the rail fastened interior with the top plate base with the rail can move the lateral 1/2 inch relative with the cross-tie. Cover the time plate through with more than 4% of the cross-tie thickness. Show with the cross-tie continued. Class 1 and 2 with the should have with the cross-tie with the general line within 24 inches of the each of the rail with the location of the class 3 and 5 with the track should have the one cross-tie with the center line within 18 inches of the rail joint location. 2 cross-tie center lines with the 24 inch for either side of each of the railroad joint location relative to the position of each side described in the following paragraph. Each rail joint, Class 1 and Class 2, shall be supported to leave with the one cross-tie specified in paragraph C with the D with the section with the center line is within 48 inches. Defective, 24 inches. Each rail joint with the Class 3 and 5 shall be supported by at least one cross-tie specified in paragraph C and the D with the section center line within 36 inches. Effective 18 inches. 2 cross-ties on one each side of the rail joint whose center lines are within 24 inches of the rail location shall be shown below. 109G with the track constructed without cross-ties stuck with the slab track connected directly with the bridge structural component of the track, other servicing pits. The track shall meet with the requirements of paragraph B1, 1, 2, and 3 of this section. Cross-tie manufacturing tungsten AV LB Forest Nevada Rail materials. Shows the different pictures of materials. Outside underground prepared for the concrete molds. Another picture. Then send it up overhead with a crane with a hopper with the molds. There are 6-foot beds, 4-foot roads, and each bed with a 400-foot long. The ties are manufactured upside down, but the clips are installed with the molds first. After the clips are installed, the pre-stressors are installed. It takes 12 hours from start and finish to each of the bed. These tracks are sided to each bed above that you see them pouring concrete with a hopper filling the molds. There are wire spools into the mold with generally 20 strand of the ML16 other than main. They install small plastic trees to keep the wires crossing them from crossing when they start to stress, and once the tension is placed, they are removed. Once each bed with the hydraulic pressure will apply with the stress of the wires. And show the wire stress concrete cured sufficiently next to the lower of the molds. Show leaving trouble down ties readily to cut with the finished lengths. The saw rolls down the track and making the cuts. The machine using suction grabs the upside down ties and flips them on the right side up. Literally flipping them over 4 at a time. They are moved next to the phase of the inspection setup on the pad installation. You can see the difference between ML and the other tie. And then quality checks are conducted at various points. Concrete sometimes chips repair is made. Minor chips do not compromise the tie strength. Their pads sometimes reclassify the tie used on the other main. 213.110 gauge resistant measurement system. A track owner of the main likely implement with a gauge resistant measurement system supplemented you with a portable track loading fixture to determine the complying with the cross tie fastener requirements specified in 213.109, 213.127, and provided track owner notified of the appropriate FRA regional office at least 30 days of the designation. Any line segment of the gauge resistant measurement system technology will be implemented in the track owner notified of the appropriate FRA regional office at least 10 days prior to any of the line segment of the gauge resistant measurement system. Gauge restraint measurement system and the initial notification on paragraph A1 of this section include the identification of the line segment of the timetable, the destination milepost, the class of the track, and the other identifying criteria. Most record million of the gross tons per traffic per of the year over the identified segment. Section 213.110 of the amendment with revision, paragraph C through F of the LP2 and 3 reads are filed with the clip of the Federal Register, volume 78, number 49, 313. March 13, 2013 final rule provides a standard track geometry for the shape of the line limit vehicle per respond with traffic track conditions and hand vehicle track qualification procedure. They add flexibility for the permitting high cam efficiency train operation through the curve of the conventional speed. Defective rails identifying the type of the side of the first reading with the timetable properly will engage the inspection issue with the proper remedial action. It is important rail defect with the properly identified allows the railroad to continue operating or remain with a complete with the code regulation. Identified with the defects generally identified in two ways: internally within ultrasonic testing measured within percent with external with the visible with the naked eye, usually measured within inches. Defective rail when an owner of the track learned with the rail with the track will contain with the defective list of the table will contain with the paragraph C with the defect from the person designated owner with the path 213 determine whether the track may continue use designated person determine the track may continue the use of the operation with the defective rail is not prohibited. The rails are replaced with the repair and remedial action as prescribed. Table contained in paragraph C with this section is initiated. When the owner of the track learns for the rail to track with the name of the indication A with the defect listed on the table to compare paragraph C with the section of the track ownership of the rail, verify the location of the track owner must verify the identification within 4 hours of the life of the track of the owner. If there's an indication of the existence of the defect with the requirement of the remedial action A2, and B with the identified with the table to contain the paragraph C section in which is the case for the track owner, they must immediately verify with the identification. Indication is verified with the track owner must replace or repair the rail to initiate the remedial action prescribed by the table to contain the paragraph C with the section. Remedial action on the table A with the current track owner learns if the rail contains one of the following defects prescribed by the remedial action specified by the rail is not replaced and they're repaired. Defective rail with a defect with the transverse compound fissure, the defective tail fracture, engine burn fracture, defection length with a defect with inches more than percent of the railhead cross section weakened and defect with less than or button less than the defect with not replaced with the remedial action prescribed in the notes. Alright, this completes track fundamental phase 1.